Which is more damaging? Ghosting the person or letting them know, hey, listen, you're just not what I'm looking for right now?
Letting them know. You really done. Like, really. Man, I can always use. I used to be able to tell when a man really cared about a girl because he wouldn't really tell her the truth. He'll still spare her feelings. I could tell he cared about, like, he ain't gonna. He'll get with his boys, be like, man, I can't stand that. When he get around her, like, baby, you know what I'm saying? Just don't get so upset. Let's just talk about it. Like, I know he's still sparing her. You know what I mean? And then he get with his boys, like, man, I be dealing with this, man, and she don't do this, man. The food is nasty, right? But he be sparing her, so I could always tell, man, this dude really love her. I'll get with a woman, I talk with her, and I counsel him and say, listen, man, this dude really love you. But I'm really trying to tell her, she said, well, I don't know, Pastor, he love me. I'm trying to say he's sparing you still. But now we're living in times now where that potential, man, it ain't enough. Because think about it. I showed you that post one time where they're saying, hey, a man got to now be financially stable for a broke chick.
Oh, right.
Like, that's like, that's a requirement now that he got to be like this and she don't. So I'm saying now what's happening is men now saying, hey, what you got that's legit.
Right.
So I'm saying that's I hate to say it, ladies. That whole you the prize, and I still believe biblically, you should be the prize, you the queen or whatever. But man, this world we live in now, that's that double standard now is coming to a head, and a lot of men just not saying, hey, I'm not gonna go off your potential. Just like we tell women, oh man, that's just the opportunity potential. You know what I mean? That's not, that's not real. It's potential. That's just what he said.
Right.
Now, see, he
the thing though, to me, my beef though is the fact that when we had conversations like this, it's only one-sided. And I asked the question, should a man marry a woman's potential? Because you don't ever have this conversation in this direction. Like, it's under the assumption that the man need to be built up. The man got so much work need to be done, and that women just, settling for these men that are broken and need to be built up. And all of this, build a bob type stuff, right. To where,
but I think a lot of that's due to men. I think we don't do a good job at. We don't have a list. Like I told you, most times we just won't respect. We won't understand some of the things you said. But it's not even. It's such a double standard because there should. I always go back to this. There should be at least one thing that every lady can agree on. That, hey, man, come on, this shouldn't be an option for a man.
Right.
As women, as black women, whatever the culture, whatever it is, hey, this should be a guarantee that this guy get this, man. And it's never like that. They all argue. If you say cooking, that's too much. You say sex is too much. You say anything. You know what I mean? It's always going to be.
You misogynistic, you sexist. All of these phrases.
Then if you say, hey, she should be working too. Working? Come on, man, supposed to be everybody. It's so many. It's no agreeing. So what happens is now you got a whole lot of possibilities, meaning potential. And man, men ain't signing up for potential. They want stuff too.
Right.
And if they say that, they're a bad person. So they gotta say it.
You're not a man. Let me be honest. You're not a man. I'm not a man. You're not a man. Men are not men. All because we're too sensitive. Now we want stuff. Now we need to be treated, fairly.
Be a man already. Yeah,
like,
don't have no
it's
feelings.
almost like the tide doesn't change, and you have men talking about how much they want that same equality when it comes to the fight women have for equality in society. It's almost like now we're just asking for that same, platform to be able to say, hey, I don't like this, or hey, I should be able to spot something out and it not be an attack on you. But so many times, like I said, these conversations not had, and you might have made a mention why, but to me, like I say, still, I think it's under the assumption that it's, it's taboo, it's wrong. We you know what I mean? We too sensitive, we too, whatever the case is, all because it's like, hey, the men that you say, hey, they willing to speak up and say, man, nah, like you ain't it, or hey, man, listen, that
or that's not,
you think,
or that's not enough for me. You know what I mean? It's like just like a woman can say, hey, you know what? Yeah, your job situation is kind of bothering me. You're not really where I thought you should be at this place in your life, and you know what I mean? Whatever. I'm saying, men saying the same thing. Hey, man, I just really thought, your attitude a little bit better. I just ain't with that little stinky act. Like I don't want that. You know what I mean? Like I want somebody who's a grown, who can communicate without popping off, and Well, I was just mad. Just give me some time. You know what I'm saying? I'm working on that. Like, don't just make. Like, no, I don't want somebody who's still working on talking.
Right. That's potential that you asking me to accept.
Yeah. But I just been through so much. You know, okay. So what does that mean? You know what I mean? Because you ask somebody to commit to something that he hates. Some men hate being disrespected. Any slick rapping, all that kind of talk. A guy looking at like, what you? I mean,
I told you about what I told you about
Yeah.
that conversation I had, and that was
Yeah.
just me just thinking, not even like it was just in my mind. I'm like, bro, like if you were a man, like you wouldn't have the mouth to speak half the words that you were saying
right.
because
You
all
wouldn't
the
come
way
at me
on
like this.
him.
Right. Yeah.
But that's
No,
wrong.
no,
That's
I
wrong.
don't.
Like I'm sorry, and I didn't know how to word that better at the time. Maybe I could have said, hey, my temper, or I get like, nah, but I'm like, man, and my wife, I'm like, nigga, where you getting about one fight every year? I'm like, I'm trying to, you know what I mean, get right, and that's, pray for me, like how you
Right.
say, because that ain't where I want to be. That ain't what I want to be known for. But sometimes it's just certain things. So,
This is what it
but let me
is,
move
right?
on, right? So I want to know, like, is a woman truly wife material if she adopt that concept of marriage is a business? We hear that all the time. What you think about that? If a woman think in her mind marriage is a business, can she really be viewed as wife material? Does that even play into it? And as I'm asking you, Pastor Dozier, everybody that's clicked on right now watching, I'm asking you the same thing. Because I know, ladies, some of y'all out there adopt that mindset and don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I just want to have a quick discussion about it, because I'm thinking like that can play a role in how she commit to a man or how she really honor him if it's based upon that business mindset. What you think?
Well, I think it's two things. If we just gonna, obviously, it's not a legitimate business because you're talking about two people. But if we're going to use that analogy and make that the source of it, I'm okay with that. If you really one of those kind of people that's about your business, like if you're going to use that analogy, because right now that's a hard thing to do. The reason why people shun that whole word of managing our business, because people don't take business serious. People don't take their job serious. People don't build careers no more. People work at a job and for 10 years be working on their own thing. Like that's why it's hard to make it that serious, because back in the day it used to be, hey man, we made a deal. Like it was a business deal and people gave their lives to that business, that mom and pop shop and that pizza shop. Like it was their dream and there wasn't no changing it. Wasn't no we switching up later on and we're gonna go with something else. So a lot of times it's just hard to grasp that marriage is a business, because what I'm looking for is the commitment in it. And usually when people were our forefathers, our parents, they were serious about their business. Like they worked at that job for 40 years and they like it wasn't
right.
Right now, nobody had a job more than 4 or 5 years. Their resume changed and I'm trying to get this other job. So that I'm okay with marriage as a business if it's really about that you serious about your business. That's a good example. If I can look at your track record and say, okay, your commitment's like this. You said you was gonna do this here. You got this job. All your goals you stick to. You stick with policy. Right. Yeah, but man, come on, man. You don't give me no marriage as a business and look at your track record. Ain't nothing about you. You know what I mean? Like your resume shows you ain't
but
about
still,
no business.
see, even I'm saying like so. My pushback on that is even if she good with business and her track record with managing whatever is great, still to me that mindset, like I have a problem with that mindset, because what happened is at the end of the day, car crash happened, some kind of tragedy happened, like don't nobody care about what y'all got in y'all bank account or if y'all gonna still go on that trip. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so when the coronavirus happened and everybody, all that, traveling and we vacation and all of that, like when that slowed down, now you remember you had so many couples. You told me about how the stat of domestic violence was heightened during the pandemic because you had so many people. Now got to really look at each other and say, hey, some of those, couples goals pictures that we was posting that was really kind of like flaw on the low, that were really real. Now we really got to look each other in the eye, and now I don't really seem as appealing as it was before. Now you got people going at each other net, and so this is why I'm saying really the marriage should not be rooted in this business concept. I just think it should be rooted in love. That's just me.
Yeah, I agree. So I hate the term, but I've heard someone kind of using a different analogy and saying, hey, even your resume, even relationships when it came to business, you ain't, you know what I mean? So you're not credible. I wouldn't hire you.
Right.
Back to the point of you want me to go off your potential, and you ain't legitimately a great relationship or a great employee, great for business. If we just basing it off of your relationship resume, your goal setting, things that make you a potential hire for the man. You're not one. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna
But
go
see, this
further
is
than
what
that.
here go the thing though. Here go the thing though. When you see everything else being in the world right now, think about it, right? Let me just vibe with me. Everything else in the world being based upon something that ain't real, like it's validated off things that's not real. Case in point, social media. You got people really on social media think that they really famous because they got 100,000 followers, or because they got a, you know what I mean, like really moving like, cuz like, you know what I mean, let me get the red carpet, make sure, you know, I got my water over there, and I don't like just regular water, and I need some lemon zest in my water just for this, like, and you like, what? All because making all of these different you know, recommendation suggestions and all of this stuff simply because they feel like, hey man, come on now, you know, when I come into town, make sure. And you know it in the pastor world, Pastor Dozier, you know what I mean, in the ministry world, sometimes you have, and we're not calling on it because I don't know, but I'm gonna venture to say that there are some pastors that really kind of feel like, man, look, I gotta move with security, I gotta keep, you know what I mean, because I don't, you never know. And it's like, bro, like you're not on that level. But again, so that to me goes into the point of how so many women would make mention of, hey, I am wife material. And you got dudes that saying like, you haven't, what, with your track record, I don't see your longest relationship was 9 months, or you know what I mean, like you don't really know
2 years off and on
what men want. It's all about what they got to do for you. And now you saying, hey, well, look at me, I'm wife material.
Right, 2 years off and on, and you saying you wife material? No way. But I understand. Like I said, I understand both sides of it, because when it comes down to it, everybody fights this perception of what people know that I am and what they really want you to be. So I don't like, because what you're really saying is, what should a man marry a woman's perception? You see what I'm saying? Because you fronting like this, but when a man knows that it's not legit, you want him to go with it and believe that's how you'll be in the long run. And that's right. You know what I mean? And I think some men, they done been through so many things. And so now I think what a lot of women forget is, just like women say they know what they want, men can know what they want too. Mm-hmm. I know what I want, so I know this not it.
Right.
And so, you know, I hate to say it, but just like
you playing because you know you want it. Like that's the whole, like there is no, this ain't real, this ain't what I want. It's, oh, you just want to play.
Yeah. I agree. They do all say that, but I think a lot of times women not taking for granted. Hey, you got a lot of men who are trying to position themselves for relationships in better ways. So you ain't gonna better tell them not being provided. They already got it on their mind. But before they be a provider for you, they need something back. And so that, and not going off of just, I wish to say, cute used to work. Cute alone was working, and fine sex or whatever it was to work. But that man, come on, man.